जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है। हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। टुडे गाइस, आज होने वाला है पूरा प्योर जियोपॉलिटिक्स का शो। आज हमारे साथ हैं मेजर जनरल प्रदीप सिंह, who's gonna tell us war everywhere, not a war to stop. What's gonna happen? कहाँ जाने वाला है दुनिया? Where is this gonna go? Because Israel Iran is heating up. रशिया बीच में एंगल है बिकॉज आज एक रशियन एयरफील्ड के ऊपर एक अटैक हुआ है। लेट्स ट्राई एंड फाइंड आउट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स द रोल बैक ऑफ चाइना विल बी द इनएविटेबल गेम। सो लेट्स गेट इनटू द शो। सर जी नमस्कार, थैंक यू सो मच एंड वेलकम टू द शो।
Namaskar, and it's good to be back again talking geopolitics. जैसे आपको पता है, times are becoming very interesting. I mean, इतना इंटरेस्टिंग हो रहा है कि हमें एक्चुअली वी हैव टू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग, सोचना पड़ेगा कि दुनिया जो है किस दिशा की तरफ जा रही है। और ये पूरी ये सब चीज़ों को डिसाइफर करने के लिए इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी वेरी इजी, but however I'll make an attempt to decipher as to what all is happening. As you're aware, we had this Israeli attack on a Russian base in Syria. So पहली बात तो all of us are very intrigued at the fact that there are Russian bases in Syria. पहले तो सुना था, ठीक है, when they're supporting the war in Syria and all that. But at the same time, जब आप इसको डीपली स्टडी करना शुरू करो तो then you will find that there is a lot of Russian involvement overtly. So there is nothing covert about it. So it becomes overt. So what happened was that there was an Israeli missile attack. About 30 odd missiles got fired onto a base called Khamimam base in Syria.
On the coast.
It's an air base. And in that, there was this warehouse which got targeted. It did not damage the airfield. It did not, this attack was very precise. There was no damage to the airfield. There were no damages to the aircraft also, interestingly, if they were parked. But it was targeted at a particular warehouse in this entire airfield. Now, why was it targeted? The Israelis started observing that there was an Iranian cargo aircraft, which came first. एक आया कोई एक हफ्ता पहले, and that gave about, and when it was talked about, it was said that it had brought in humanitarian aid for the Lebanese people, for Lebanon. Now, that is the first sortie that came out. And that raised the kind of tentacles of the Israelis. The Israelis kept watching. And then there was another aircraft which came, which is from Keshem Fars Airlines, which is an Iranian cargo aircraft. It's a Boeing 747. Now, when this came in, this had all that communication, etc. It was a ghost aircraft with no communications and no official announcement which was made. And the navigation systems were off.
अच्छा, ट्रांसपोंडर ऑफ करके आए हैं? ओहो.
Yes, and the transponder was off. So that is what is the, so that is when the aircraft left. After that, when the ammunition or arms, whatever were being delivered, which was taken to the warehouse, it is the warehouse which got targeted, and about 30 missiles from naval ships were fired onto it. And that now do we look at it, that the Russians are directly involved or Russia will respond to this? This is something that we have to see. In my opinion, the Russians are not going to respond.
Not one Russian was even a kuch, nothing, not even a flick.
No, not even a flake. Nobody got injured. It was just the ammunition or the whatever armaments were supplied. They got destroyed, and that is it. And so basically, the support to the Hezbollah, which was being poured through the Iranians, first bringing it to Syria to this particular base, and then they are to be supplied to the Hezbollah, that has been kind of liquidated, and that has been finished.
May I interrupt, sir?
Yeah,
Last week, the US did a drone strike on a convoy from Syria towards Lebanon.
correct.
This is 2-3 days, not last week, I would say about 3-4 days ago. एक
So
drone strike करी थी. So is this the same?
you see, that's why I said that there was an aircraft which had come earlier.
Ah,
So it must have been one of those, in the garb of humanitarian aid, that a lot of weapons were brought in. And then subsequently, when they were being transported, that is the time that the drone strike was done. And that didn't make much headlines or didn't create much hue and cry, for a simple reason that it did not happen on the airfield premises.
hmm.
There's a place called, what? Latakia,
हाँ Latakia,
that's a
yes sir.
Latakia weapons depot.
जी.
And then the Russian military got activated incidentally in this particular thing also. And they say about 50 shells they could intercept. Now, somehow it doesn't seem to match. Somewhere they're talking about 30 missiles and then they're talking about 50 shells. And they're talking about 50 shells getting intercepted by the Russians. So there is a Russian air defense umbrella which is existing around that particular airfield. And that is what has happened. Now, interestingly, this particular airbase, Khamim Air Base, houses the Russian strategic bombers. This is a base for Russian strategic bombers, can carry nuclear capable missiles, and they are stationed there to cover the southern flank of the NATO.
Oh.
So it's not that this is not an important base. It's a very important base. The only thing is that these guys, they've got their Panchir there, they have got their Book M2 medium range AD systems, they've got S400s deployed there. So all that is deployed. So this is a very important base. And they've been flying their Su-35s and 34s from there. So it is an important base. However, no damage to the aircrafts have taken place, no damage to the Russian equipment has taken place. What they have specific, it has been a very specific target, that is the warehouse, and then that's what has been brought about. Now, is the conflict kind of spreading? It's very evident that it is.
Hmm.
Now, what we want to see is, we know that the United States are totally involved in this conflict in the Middle East. After all, they got I think they got 3 aircraft carrier in the around there, and they're supporting the Israelis. We are also aware that when these 181 missiles which got fired by the Iranians onto the Israelis, and which took on all the airfields, the couple of airfields which they took on. It is always the Israeli Iron Dome as well as the air defense umbrella which the US Navy is providing, right? So the US Navy is very active there. This is something which you got to see, that US Navy, Israel involved. Russia directly involved. Can we say that? In my opinion, we cannot say that they're openly supporting the Iranians to do it. I mean, they're not directly involved.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They're not directly involved. I mean, they're
Hmm.
involved, but they're not directly. participating in the war, whereas as far as the Americans are concerned, they're directly participating in the war as far as protection of the Israelis. Israel is concerned. And what you got to be very clear today is it has become very evident that Israelis cannot do it on their own.
हाँ वो है because there are too many players in the game. हाँ जी.
There are too many players in the game. Israel, whatever said and done, howsoever powerful we may think, without the American support, Israel cannot actually survive.
नहीं
Let's
कर
get
सकते.
it right. Let's get
Correct.
it right.
Hmm.
So this has become very clear. All that Iron Dome and whatever it is uh, has been effective to a particular degree, and then thereafter we all know it for the last so many months that the Israelis are also crying hoarse for a lot of equipment. The missiles have to come in. The artificial ammunition has to come in, and that's where the dilemma the Americans have between providing for Ukraine or for Israel. So Israel is totally dependent on the United States. Involvement of America in the Middle East will continue to remain.
The interesting thing I noticed is that Israeli diplomats are there in Russia. वहां पर गए हुए थे लोग. तो is this the Russian saying ठीक है यार ठोक लो कोई बात नहीं?
देखो अभी we know what Israel understands, that for it to survive as a nation, it cannot antagonize the Russians. It cannot. America to hai hai, but it cannot antagonize the Middle East, other countries. I'm not talking about the Iranian supported nations. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia. After all, why do you think there was a rapprochement which was taking place between Saudis and the Israelis? Right? Even with the Iranians, they were looking at coming down to some deal or the other. It is only after October the 7th that things went awry, right?
Yeah.
But Israel also understands that if it has to survive, it has to survive within that environment, and that environment is not going to change. Its geography. It's not going to change.
The curse of
Right?
geography.
It's the curse of geography or revenge or geography, whatever you want to call it. But Israel, to survive within that environment, has to be the best of friends, if not the best of friends, at least friends with its neighbors. Now, who triggered this Hamas thing, the 7th October thing, which turned the entire dynamics? That is something one has to be going at the root cause of it. There is some nation which disturbed the balance, which disturbed the geopolitical environment. And with what aim was that is something that I and you ought to be thinking about. Had that incident not taken place, things would have been totally different, right? Had that incident not taken place, the dynamics in the Ukraine war would have been totally different. After all, the attention got diverted. The resources got diverted. The monies got diverted. Earlier we were only talking, the US supporting Taiwan and US supporting Ukraine because Ukraine happened. But now it is again, Israel also needs all the kind of support.
Correct.
So you added the third dimension to it. I'm adding the third dimension because Taiwan, South China Sea is a constant kind of irritant which is there and which needs American presence, attendance, and a watchful eye on it, and the support. हम लोग हमेशा कहते आ रहे हैं कि भाई अमेरिका के लिए biggest challenge is China. It is not looking at Ukraine and it is not looking at Israel. But fortunately, unfortunately, they have got involved in these two wars badly.
To me, it's China, sir. मेरे हिसाब से तो China ने
देखो, yeah. So there is somebody who triggered it, and the only person who can trigger it, would the Russians do it?
No.
Well,
They won't be averse to it.
Yeah, they won't be averse to it, but the China, the Chinese angle has to be thought of because China has been wanting to become a major player in this entire game. Now I have a very when I look at China, China wants to be the peacemaker as far as Middle East is concerned. Right? It wanted to play the peacemaker's part as far as Ukraine is concerned. Ukraine, it hasn't worked. Middle East is it was working to an extent, and there also in the Middle East, they were only facilitating talks between the Saudis and the Israelis. They play the China plays the part of a facilitator, and that is all that it has the capability to do. Because it doesn't want to, when it plays this part, it doesn't want to antagonize one party against the other. If it antagonizes both sides of the party, it is going to lose. After all, China को तो तेल चाहिए ना. China needs energy resources. China needs a market. And if it favors one, it'll, and if it doesn't, if it antagonizes the other one, it only stands to lose. So as far as China is concerned, China's relevance in this entire thing is becoming very, very minimal. It's not a player. It is raising its hand. It's like a Keen Kumar, a guy in a class who's just wanting to show that he knows everything, and he's also present in the class, and he keeps raising his hand, and that's what China's role is, precisely. Nothing
Media
beyond
voice.
that.
Just takes out a lot of media voice and then goes back.
Yeah. I'm around. I want to stay relevant. I want to be relevant in the geopolitical sphere. And that is what it is doing. Whether it can play an active part, will China openly support Iran? Like the Americans are supporting Israel, can China directly support? Does it have the guts to do it? Will it ever do it? No. Russia still has the gumption of playing its part as far as supporting the Iranians is concerned, right? But when it comes to China is not there at all. So China is buying oil from Saudi Arabia. China is buying oil from Iran. Now, countries which will continue to trade with Israel, because Israel also, you can't do without Israel also.
Tech is superb, sir.
Yeah,
Correct?
so you can't do without Israel also. So in the end of it all, everybody wants a peaceful solution to come about as far as the Israel-Palestinian issue is concerned. And yeah.
Let's इसको थोड़ा we've got the context here. ठीक है. अभी वो हमारा your and my best friend Zelensky also went. ठीक है. वो भी गया था अमेरिका. He thought भैया पता नहीं he will get the permission to strike inside Russia. He will get this permission, that permission. Kursk offensive चला नहीं, इसका वापस ही आ गया. मतलब वो जितना अंदर गया था उतना तो वापस ही आ गया वो. And ये भी सुनने को मिल रहा है that the Russians are now going to open a front there also. So because they've got about 1.5 lakh troops there, तो वो push कर रहे हैं, अंदर जा रहे हैं, and they're going to go ram him into it. क्योंकि एक बड़ा interesting सा article आया सर Financial Times में, and I don't know if you read that article. It actually spoke about कि भाई front line पे जो soldiers हैं, and I did a small show on this also. मैंने 2-3-4 articles पढ़े इसके ऊपर. I heard some commentaries also, and then I put up a show also. Frontline soldiers are saying, boss, बहुत हो गया. टेरिटरी जो देना है दो, ये सारा झगड़ा बंद करो, हमसे नहीं होता अभी ये. We can't do it. तो how do you now contextualize this Israel issue, जिसके अंदर both Russia and US have interests? China has certain amount of interest fading, although, but वहां पर तो it's a little proxy war between Russia and the Americans.
You see, let's take the visit of Zelensky to the US and his so-called victory plan. Now, this victory plan is shrouded in mystery because nobody is talking about it. Had there been something worthwhile talking about it, it would have been leaked to the media and something would have come about. This victory plan is just keep supporting me, keep giving me long-range weapons. I will strike his energy resources. I will strike his airfields. I will strike this, and then Russia will crumble. And once Russia will crumble, then the Kurds, we will take on the Kurds bridge, and Russia will come down its knees, and victory will be obtained. And that's my reading of the victory plan, because there's nothing which is as of today in the open to say that this is A was the victory plan. Is President Zelensky succeeding in what he is doing? The only thing he's succeeding is drawing out money. He's again got 8 billion worth. Promise of 8 billion.
He used to get 16-20 at one time, sir. अब तो बेचारे को single digit में आ गया तो.
Single digit में आ गया. He's supposed to have got that 61 billion, which hasn't yet moved only. I mean, it is still there on paper. And this is part that 7.9 billion is what is a part of that. Again, when it will materialize is something that we shall see. Right? So, if you're really looking at it, Russia is playing it cool as far as Ukraine is concerned. It's hitting them hard. You know that Bugledar has fallen after about 2 years. Now, this is a change in tactics which the Russians have started doing, and I don't know whether they heard us talking about it. In some sense, got it.
एक बार ही coincidence हुआ है इसमें.
दो तीन बारी तो हुआ है. So, instead of banging their head against big towns, urban warfare, and because urban terrain takes a lot of casualties, it takes a lot of time. So what they've started doing is encircling and then forcing the people to surrender, and that is precisely what has happened in Bugledar, and that is what they are planning to do in that Pokrovsk, because that particular area is. It's a communication hub, and if that falls, then we all know that the Donbas is nearly gone. Right now, I think it's about in Luhansk. The Russians have got about 98.5% of their territory, and in Donetsk they're at 60%. So the moment this Pokrovsk falls, you will find that the Donetsk region is also under control of the Russians nearly completely. Now, Russia, as far as Ukraine is concerned, is playing it, as I said, very cool. It continues with its specific aims, that is to capture the entire of Donbas. Right? So he's not relenting on that. As far as the Kursk offensive is concerned by the Ukrainians, that has been a failure. We all understand it failed in its objective. Today, it is getting destroyed piecemeal. And they do not have many troops to further the operations, right? And we all understand there is strong ISR.
Very strong.
Very strong ISR. And if you recollect, I had mentioned that it is near impossible that the Russians did not know that this was taking place. They allowed it to happen. And now they are taking them on, and with additional troops which have been, brought in, this whatever incursion that the Ukrainians have made, this will also get sorted out, and Ukrainians will have to pull back with a lot of casualties. So, Ukraine, I would say, is now getting into the third winter. It's going to be 3 years now. Today is what 953rd day. 950 दिन हो चुके हैं, ठीक है. तो ये again the winters will set in. The Russians will keep hitting the energy infrastructure. There'll be terrible conditions as far living conditions as far as Ukraine is concerned. But the focus of this, which is shifting to Middle East, is something that we've earlier also spoken about. अब ये focus जो है, this is something which you got to be be worried about. Ukraine, Russia today, okay, fine, you want to have, I mean, with in control types. The entire concern, whether it is the Russian concern or whether the American concern or whether it is the Middle Eastern concern, is that the condition that it should not get out of hand. The situation should not go out of hand, because the Iranians are going berserk. Iranians are not going to listen. Right? Israelis, on the other hand, are also not willing to listen. So who's going to tame whom? That is the question. And that taming can only take place if Russia and the United States are talking to each other. And what I know of is that there is a lot of you know, backstage negotiations and talks, and the intelligence agencies talking about, because they fear that whatever Russians' nuclear threats may actually materialize. And if they do, then what do they do? And then what happens in Ukraine and what happens in the Middle East?
You know, one thing I want to kind of bring about, let's bring in the India angle a little bit into this, because funnily speaking, whatever India was doing abhi tak, jo bhi kar raha tha, chup-chap kar raha tha. This is the first time now India has come out openly, and Jaishankar recently, when he spoke to the Hudson Foundation, then he spoke to the Carnegie.
Anthony Blinken just now.
Yeah. So they very clearly said that, yeah, listen, we are doing conversations. We are building up bridges to create a conversation between the warring nations.
Correct.
ठीक है, he said that openly, and he said Russia Ukraine में भी चल रहा है ये चीज, और ईरान इजराइल में भी चल रहा है, and इसकी confirmation उधर से भी आ चुकी है, और इसकी confirmation इधर से आई when you kind of saw that the Iranians called up and said, भाई ये इसको बोलो यार, हमको झगड़ा नहीं करना, वो हमने उसने मारा था तो हमने मार दिया, बस खत्म करो इसको, you need to, मोदी साहब बात करो. So that was very interesting to me. आपके क्या stakes हैं सर?
Dekho, it's actually today, I don't know whether you read about it or heard this guy Tony Blair talking about India becoming a superpower by 2050.
Third pole, yeah. He very clearly said third
Right.
pole.
So 2050 is not very far, huh? Right? And I think he's talking about a little thoda aage le gaya wo. As far India has arrived in the geopolitical arena, India has arrived.
Yeah.
And
especially
then
with the global south and stuff. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you have a recognition among the global south, you have a recognition with the Russians, you have a recognition with the US. You have now started building bridges with the Chinese also. So when you're looking at all this, India has arrived. India, whatever India is going to say, उसकी बात जो है सुनी जाएगी. India की बात सुनी जाएगी. And India is one country which can be trusted, unlike China. You know, when India plays its part, it doesn't play the part of what do you call, somebody who's got economic interests to that extent that China has. Indian economic interests are something which are for the benefit of our own people. We will see that, you know, where we can get it. Whereas the Chinese are looking at something else.
वो तो hegemony चाह रहा है सर.
He wants hegemony.
Yes sir, yes sir करके पीछे खड़े हो जाओ मेरे.
He wants that everybody should listen to him. He wants countries to come and debt. And whereas India is not doing that, right? So India's got selfish interests. It's okay. Selfish economic interests, everybody, and why not? But when it comes to China, so what I was coming to is that India remains a trusted nation. The trust factor is very high. What India will do is convey the correct aspects from one country to the other country, the warring factions. Whether if it is talking to Iran, it will talk sincerely with Iran. When it is talking to Israel, it will talk sincerely with Israel. And this, it is not that it is coming in now. क्योंकि लड़ाई हो गई तो हम बीच में आ गए.
नहीं, पहले से ही है.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
ये पहले से है. हमारे रिलेशंस जो हैं इजराइल के साथ हैं या ईरान के साथ हैं या सऊदी अरेबिया के साथ हैं, ये पहले से हैं.
आप लेवरेज कर रहे हो अभी उसको.
Yes. And leveraging for what? Leveraging for world peace.
And even if you get something out of it, why not?
Yeah. So there is, the trust factor is very high as far as India is concerned. Now, does the world trust the Americans?
Yeah. No.
No. Do they trust the Russians?
Global South, yes. But
Some countries, yes. Some countries don't. China?
no.
No.
I don't think the Chinese trust the China.
so, so if China is not being trusted, if Russia is a no go in any case, if America is not to be trusted, if European nations today unfortunately have no standing, so the only country today standing solid is India.
Yeah.
Now, what can India do when it comes to whether it is the Ukraine war, whether it is the Middle East? In my, if I were to understand this, India would be more interested when you prioritize. If you prioritize the conflicts in India, would want to prioritize the Middle Eastern crisis at a higher frame than the Ukrainian crisis,
Absolutely. I agree, sir.
right?
Yeah.
To to have stability in the Middle East is more important than having an end to the Ukrainian conflict.
Yeah. One closer to home, religious, political,
No,
whole lot of
you
impact.
see, this is Ukraine is a different ball game. This, as you just mentioned, is a religious thing,
Yeah.
and it has that both sects, Shia Sunni kind of,
Mm, mm.
and the ramifications or fallouts of this conflict, whether it is the Jews or whether it is the Shias or whether it is the Sunni, the ramifications are much wider and of a different scale and of a different nature. So it is important for India to be able to address this. And India is able to address this slightly better than the rest of the world because it has the second largest population of
And,
Muslim population in the world
and growing economy, yeah, wo,
and
everything, all
growing
that.
economy.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a youth bulge. You've got, so you have better understanding
Correct.
of the situation, whether it is
Correct. Correct.
it is just not economics.
Mm.
It is historical, cultural. It is religious. It's a lot of things are involved. The Chinese don't understand this.
You
Can
know,
never
at this point,
understand
I'd
this.
like to. This is a very fun. I don't normally take comments in the middle of the show, but he says the dragon shrinks to a lizard, and Xi Jinping is in panic state.
Yeah, I mean, the dragon has actually shrunk to a lizard because उसको समझ नहीं आ रहा है. उसको how can you make him understand? When Pakistan will lose Baluchistan, then we will see. China would not know which side to look.
You took the keyword out, sir.
Yeah. So when Baluchistan just detaches itself, and that CPEC or whatever, the Iron Brotherhood, and what I will want to see as to what role the Chinese will come and play there as far as the Iron Brothers are concerned, and how will they help Pakistan. I want to see that. So there is no other country better than India to play a part as far as the Middle Eastern current crisis is concerned. And I'm sure that our diplomatic parlays behind the scene, whatever is happening uh, at a very fast pace, very vigorously. And soon we shall see. I'm sure official statements would also start coming in because the need of the hour is to bring an end to this conflict at the
Absolutely.
earliest, at
Absolutely.
a higher priority as compared to Ukraine.
Another big change in geopolitics that we can see in this region is the regime in Iran, sir. We see that the regime is kind of weakened up, and we know for a fact that ये जो अमेरिकन्स का ये सोशल इंजीनियरिंग करते रहते हैं, बेवकूफ़ी करे, 5-6 साल हो गए इनको करते हुए, दे हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू अचीव एनीथिंग. बांग्लादेश वाज अ स्मॉल कंट्री, ठीक है, तुम्हारा लक बैठ गया वहां पर, वो भी सारा इज गोइंग इनटू द ब्लडी ट्रैश कैन. So fair enough, we'll give that to you, but not for long. We both know that it's not going to last for long. Having said that, Iran made this thing to do is not it's not
You can't do
possible.
it. Not possible.
This whole angle that Netanyahu has brought out, and guys, for those of you who've seen my morning update with regards Netanyahu's game of regime change in Iran, I termed it as a political war regime change. Put that much bloody political and military pressure on a country that the guy says, yeah, boss, I can't deal with this anymore. What do you say
See,
for that?
that Netanyahu's statement that he's made and an appeal to the Iranian people. It's a very interesting
Yeah.
direct target.
Hmm.
I mean,
And Farsi Sharsi में भी, by the way.
uh, it is not manipulation. It is not indirect. It is a direct way of addressing the common people over there. So, what will happen in Iran? Whatever I said and done, it's Persia, it's Persian Empire,
Yeah.
historical, right? And whosoever are there, there's people in charge are very, very well read, mature leaders, right? And they will act in such a manner which is good for their own people. And let us see as to what happens. Regime change karana itna aasan nahi hai, as you mentioned. Bangladesh uh, is a social engineering experiment. After about say a year or so, it will be a failed experiment.
You're being very
Yeah,
generous.
it's going to be a failed social engineering experiment because Bangladesh also cannot survive. They can keep talking and keep making statements. Very, very stupid statements are being coming out. That's all rhetoric, and rhetoric by people who are of no significance. In the end of it all, they have to survive. They have to survive. They have to be there along with a neighbor. China also, we know that losing its relevance in these areas
So
slowly and
let's
slowly.
finally, I want to ask you about America. There are a lot of questions. Guys, 2,300 almost people are watching. Hit the like button जोर से. ठीक है, आवाज आनी चाहिए. Think there's a little Pakistani sitting there and hit it hard. America. ठीक है. And by the way, I was watching a YouTube channel, this American YouTube channel, and he actually termed himself as America. So, America, now what is America's game, sir? Because America is again heading for bloody turmoil. इसकी बैंड बजने वाली है. एक महीना भी क्या है? 3 अक्टूबर तो हो गई है. 1 month and 2 days. 32 days basically.
America, you see, firstly, we all know it's laughable the way the American politics has come up out on the open. They're washing the dirty linen in public. I mean, such low class of politics has come forth that one starts disregarding America as a superpower.
Yep. Well said.
If it were a superpower, if these are the kind of leaders, I'm not a Republican nor I'm a Democrat, whatever it is, I don't care a shit. But fact of the matter is, if I have to respect a country, I have to respect the leadership. And today, I'm afraid uh, I can only laugh and I can only cringe like you are cringing right now. And so this is the kind of leadership. These are the kind of people I've got to deal with. Where
I can only see one guy. If they make him, fair enough, I'll respect them. Vivek. Rest of all of them, Tulsi, jitne bhi hai, all bloody
oh,
idiots of the biggest order.
where I do not know where have they got them from, and what is their selection system and how they pick up people with very low level intellect, if I may just put it. It is. I'm sorry to say, but that's what it appears to be. And if this is what is going to happen, so uh, irrespective of who comes to power, if Donald Trump comes to power, the only grace that we know is he's a businessman. He's not a diplomat. He's not a politician. He's a pure businessman, and he kind of is inward looking. He looks at America very what do you call? He's possessive about his country, and he's possessive about the fact that they should be looking at inwards and not looking at getting people killed outside, not spending money on others when they should be developing themselves. And I think to that extent, he's quite rational, right? When it comes to Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, well, the lesser said, the better, because they're into a warmongering thing. They're warmongers. They will create more problems for the world. Will there be peace thereafter? I have my doubts. So another 30 odd days, and I mean, let us see as to where it leads to. And it's important, if America wants itself to be called as a superpower, it must have a mature, sensible president leading the country for the good of the entire world. If it does not happen, then there's going to be a lot of problem. If you really ask me, none of these candidates are fit enough to lead a country like the United States. None of them. So one should not be commenting, because we're nobody to comment on their internal affairs. But at the look of it, the entire geopolitical games will be either there will be a major change. Either there will be a boost to further violence, or there will be an end to violence. If there's, I would look at, if Donald Trump says end of violence, I think that would be the best possible thing. So let us see as to where it leads to. And as far as India is concerned, our relationship with the United States, our relations as part of Quad, our relationships with whatever the G7 or G20 or the global South, we will stand tall, because at the moment we're not taking any sides. We are in the you know firm belief that it's not an era of war, and I think that is where our country is coming to, and that will be in the best interest of our nation.
You know, when Modi Sahab actually said that, it was not really a external message, it was also an internal message.
Rightly so.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. There's a lot which is going to explode in this world. ठहर जाओ. Don't get overwhelmed. We have major global crisis that we'll have to deal with. Don't look इधर उधर छोटा मोटा and all that. उसमें कुछ नहीं है. Wait. I think that was a very, very smart thing that he did. I really, I mean, today I was telling someone, I said, यार मोदी साहब ना आके कुछ डायलॉग शालॉग मार के चले जाते हैं. ठीक है. Only 6 months later you realize, damn, he was right. I mean, it's quite
You see, the fact is, it's not an era of war. It's not only if you as a nation have to progress. If you have to be playing your part in the entire world geopolitical arena, geoeconomics is very much a part of it, right? And until unless economically you are strong, you cannot be politically strong. You cannot be militarily strong.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking at internal, internal conflicts, small, major, whatever. So, if you're going to get involved in these small issues, then obviously it is detrimental to the growth of the country. Of course, they must be addressed. I'm not denying that. They have to be addressed, but they have to be addressed in a very mature fashion, with great amount of deliberation. And I think that is where I know, so there'll be somebody who'll talk about Manipur, and somebody will talk about Ladakh, and somebody talk about whatever, nationalism, and the Red Corridor. Yeah, there are issues. There's no country without any internal problems. So we have our problems. We are dealing with it. And there are very competent people within the hierarchy. And it's not always the political, hierarchy which... The political hierarchy is always there to get the brickbats. The people on ground who are working there, I'm sure they're working. They're very competent people. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into questions. But before that, my request to everybody, almost 2,500 people watching, please hit the like button hard. ठीक है, at least 1500 likes you guys need to give us. Sir, grateful. I know you're not fully recovered out of your this thing, but I'm so grateful that you've taken out the time. This was an interesting discussion. I love it when we throw geopolitics around, you know, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and the equation comes out totally different at the end of it, because that's the fun part about this whole geopolitical thing, and that's what kind of tickles my brain. And of course, yes, guys, my request to everybody, if you guys can please contribute towards this channel, please do so using the QR code, PayPal, or super stickers, super chats, or becoming members. Before we go, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a few other members that I need to acknowledge. Chandanji, Kamlesh Vithal Rao ji, Rahul Rathod, nice to have you back, brother. Anil Patil ji and Shobha Sharma ji, thank you so much for becoming members. Of course, yes, today we have our superwoman, Sarvani ji, who's given 5 memberships, and she gave one membership after that as well to some lucky viewer of Dev Talks. Thank you so much, Sarvani. Always a pleasure to have you on the platform. Parthaji, thank you so much. You say, what is Russia's role in West Asia? Mr. Putin at least needs to verbally support US's true allies, radicals, H&H, Hamas and Hezbollah, not to hamper Russia and North Africa. Am I correct with H&H, Hamas and Hezbollah?
Yeah, I guess that's what Hamas and Hezbollah is. And yeah, what you just mentioned is we kind of ignore North Africa and that region. And that is where Russia is playing its cards pretty well. You know, it's taking out the Europeans, and filling the gap. The Russians are filling the gap over there. Now, as far as role of Russia in West Asia is concerned, we've spoken enough about it. But when you look at it, Russia is a silent supporter. It has been supporting Iran. It has been supporting indirectly. When you talk of Iran, then obviously it is supporting Hezbollah, it is supporting Hamas. Uh, Directly, no. Indirectly, yes. And whereas the United States has not been given an opportunity to call out Russia directly in this particular game. Now, that is how the smartness, the Russians, have displayed their smartness in this particular area. So, Africa, yes, full involvement. West Asia, silent involvement. That's what I would like to say.
Interesting. So, Mohanji, thank you for your super sticker. And of course, Pratapji, thank you so much, sir. Regime change in Iran is not in India's interest.
No, 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 we are not involved in regime changes. We believe in a very simple dictum that we will only talk and, deal with the party in power, because these are internal matters. I can draw this with if if Taliban was a recognized government, India would talk to Taliban in Afghanistan,
We are
right?
talking to them. I mean,
We are talking to them, but that's kind of a different way we are talking to them. But
yeah.
India deals with the government in power, recognized government in power. That's it. So whether it is a regime change or here or there, it will not actually affect our relationship with that particular country. The relationship from their side may differ, but as far as India's approach to that particular nation, it'll get tweaked a little, but overall it'll remain the same.
So, thought provocator, sir, thank you. You say one colonial island returning as US eyes one in Bangladesh. Diego Garcia
Yeah,
was in St. Martin.
I,
All right.
I have actually a very different take on Bangladesh, and unfortunately, I'm not going to speak about it. But
Valid reason, sir. That's fine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nishanji, thank you so much for becoming a member. Jai Krishnan Sahab, do not know why I'm not getting notifications. Yeah, I wanted to actually address this. Guys, there is a WhatsApp channel which is there in the link. Please join that for those of you who are not getting notifications. Telegram, WhatsApp, all that is there in the description. You can join the Clips and Shorts channel as well as Instagram and Facebook as well. Hypothetical question, sir. If India faces a threat from Houthis, does India have the capabilities to hit them or carry out targeted military strikes far away from our border like US and NATO? Your opinion?
We'll leave it in the hypothetical stage itself. As far as capabilities are concerned, you see, A, it should trouble us. If it does not trouble us, why should we be striking at them? So we will have to leave it at the. As far as capabilities are concerned, with what, fourth or the fifth largest military in the world, third largest military in the world, and uh, fifth largest economy in the world, going to be the third largest economy in the world. So capabilities wise, do not doubt your nation. Your nation is quite capable of doing things which maybe you cannot imagine. We are a pretty strong nation. The military is pretty strong. Our polity is strong. Our bureaucracy is very strong. Our diplomacy is very strong. And economically, we are growing. We have a growing stature. And our Chanakyagiri is, let's face facts, we are the best.
There's no question, sir. Agreed. Abhishek Samant Saab says, so how will Trump deal with this Iran crisis? I know he mentioned that he'll stop the Ukraine war, but what about this conflict?
Simple as that. As far as he's concerned, he will do a direct speak with them, and that is it. You want to get obliterated, you want to continue to live, plain and simple. Either you toe the line or you are done deal. And as far as Iran is concerned, you see, the moment Trump takes over, the entire geopolitical dynamics are going to change. His equation with Russia is different. His equation with North Korea is different. His equation with Iran is different. It may be a little radical at the moment to say that he makes them feel like they are business partners. He will make them feel what is in their interest. He's a negotiator. He's a deal maker.
Pure deal maker, sir. Yes, sir.
He's a deal maker. He knows how to
Yeah.
negotiate, and he
Yeah,
will tell them as to look, A, B, C in your interest, C, D, E not in, D, C, E not in, D, E, F, G, H not in your interest. You choose what you want,
Hmm.
and he'll put the bare facts right in front. So Iran will also come around. And here, as far as Ukraine is concerned, Ukraine, it's a very simple. He'll say, stop the war. You don't stop the war, I'll stop the aid.
अब वो तो 5 सेकंड का काम है, sir. Israel still
हाँ.
has a lot of options on his own, yeah.
Yeah, as far as Iran is concerned, it's a different ballgame. Ukraine is very
Yeah.
simple. As far as Iran is concerned, it's okay, fine. You end the war. We will come at a solution. Let's get onto the negotiating table. You talk, so and so talk. Everybody talks, and come to a solution, and they will negotiate a deal. It's actually not difficult. Agar aap neighbors ho, I'm just saying, if you're two neighbors and you're not going to talk to each other and you want to keep throwing muck at each other across each other's boundaries, then obviously there'll be muck on both sides. But if you just meet over a cup of tea and decide that let's not do this, it will not happen. So he's a deal maker. He'll put an end to all this.
Interesting. One second. Yeah. Dr. MPC, thank you. Sir, your opinion on gun laws within India?
I think they're very, very strict here.
Yeah. And they need to be done that.
To get a gun license renewed in India is a painful task. To get a gun license is so painful within India, and I think it's rather strict and regulated. If you're a gun owner, you know what happens before elections, the amount of calls you'll get from the cops to deposit your weapon.
Yeah, they take it away.
Yeah, they take it away. You are supposed to deposit it somewhere safe, and if you're not depositing it with the police, you're supposed to deposit it in those designated places, and then you're supposed to show them this receipt. I think ours is very very regulated, and of course, if you are talking about the illegal gun trade, if you're talking about what is
Which
coming
is
across the
theirs,
borders in Myanmar, in Thailand, and what's coming out of China, well, that's a different ballgame altogether.
sir. Harshalji, thank you for your contribution. And Ramesh Saab, thank you. You say the pager attack only reminds me of history of Assyrian cities, Carthage Mongols, Mamluks, and whether it is a return to such an age of assassins in the Middle East.
Oh yes, it is the age of assassins. Is the age of who's smarter than the other, and sorry, excuse me. So the people are getting smarter by the day, and technology is was at full time display.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
true, sir. Okay, wait. Sorry, I lost my way a little bit. So many comments come, I suddenly lose my way. Kshitish Goyalji, thank you. Can Maldives create a similar group like Houthis and do the same activities in India?
Far fetched.
Far-fetched, too far-fetched. Nishanji, thank you so much. You say, I've been observing the slow but steady rise of Iranian Persian nationalism in Iran, which places greater emphasis on the country's pre Islamic path and neo Zoroastrianism. I think Israel is eyeing that. Your thoughts? I think you mentioned that. It's Persia.
Yeah, you see, it's Persia. It's the old. When you're looking at it, aren't we talking about our own past? So there is a revival. There is a as all of us are getting exposed to social media, as of us are getting exposed to uh, the ancient histories, the nationalism or
Hmm.
historical cultural whatever culturalism which is existing in the past is coming to fore,
Hmm.
and we are becoming prouder and prouder of our past. Earlier you would only come to know if you read about it, if you were a scholar. But today, bits and pieces of it are available in social media, and if you're interested, you go and you can, browse and you can read, and so that awakening, the cultural awakening or the historical awakening, is taking place, whether it is in Iran or whether it is in any other country, and people are becoming more and more aware. So, if we say that the Iranians are becoming more aware, I'm afraid the Israelis are also becoming more aware. And they talk of that history. I mean, God knows how many thousands of years they go back, and they prove to you that that is their land, that is where they belong. So it's both sides. I think it's an overall cultural awakening which is taking place, and one side must recognize this fact and start appreciating the other guy's history. I mean, is there. So if Israelis are eyeing that, or the Iranians have become more culturally awakened, there's nothing wrong in it. That'll bound to happen.
Absolutely agree, sir. Because cultural connects and all that stuff are not that difficult to kind of brush off.
Today it
Harshalji,
is easy to get. Yeah.
thank you so much. Please take my question. And your question is, hi, Major General, sir. What is the reason Americans give unconditional support to Israel no matter what?
I know you know the answer. You're just wanting to me to spell it out. If I were crude, I would have something a very nice phrase to they hold America by the what.
You know what?
So
Let me
yeah,
just say this: Bravo, Alpha, Lima, Lima, Sierra.
yeah. So it's plain and simple. It's all economics,
Yeah,
and we know that the entire economy of the United States is governed by whom, and that's about it.
yeah. But
They
you know the
control it.
difference. The difference is that that is what you're saying is true, but the economy is actually held up by the leftist part of the jury. It's not it's not the regular Jews that actually control it. It's the leftists, and that's very
That's
funny
right.
to me. And
No,
I
no.
speak to
You
people
see,
in Israel who tell me that,
there are two kinds. There are two
uh,
kinds. The traditional economy is still in the hands of the Jews.
yeah,
The traditional,
mm,
the Wall Street economy, in New York, Manhattan. If you walk the streets of Manhattan at about 8:30, 8, I would say 8 o'clock onwards, that's where you will find out as to what is the the number of rabbis which come out, and the that's where, if you headed towards Wall Street, and then you will come to know. So the economy is in their hands, and one is the traditional part of it, and the other one is the neocons, or whatever they're called, right? But the
neoconservatives.
neoconservatives, those are the people, and they're also the same. So America has no option. अमेरिका में है कौन और कौन है? Who is an American?
ये सारे बाहर से
No.
आए हुए हैं सर, सारे बाहर से आए
Huh?
हुए
So they're all immigrants, right?
हैं.
So there is a Russian who's an American, there's an Indian who's an American, there is a Polish guy who's an American, an East European guy who's an American. So everybody is an American. So not so somebody to say that what is America? America is just a conglomerate of people from all over the world.
Yeah. All right. So a few more questions. Unknown citizen says, sir, I suppose Israel and US bring a new government in Iran, which is tilted towards the West, and it cut Russia from Iran, which cuts Russia from Syria, the gateway to the Middle East, and harm the INSTC.
घुमा के उधर लेके आ गया INSTC. Good one though, good connections. Yeah, but long drawn.
Yeah. Apart from that, yeah, see, I'll tell you what, even if yeah, 2-3 months like Bangladesh, they'll keep on making stupid dialogues and stuff like that. Like, you remember Maldives? Oh, we don't want anything Indian. We'll get our rice from this, that, that, toom, that, toom. Now he's saying, sir, ek jara, main aa jaun wahan par jara, मेरे को मिलना है आपसे जरा, तो sorry कहता है. You can't escape geography here. You can keep on doing this. You can't escape geography. That reminds me, our friend from Bangladesh also asks, could there be any problem about Russia with India on Iran issue? Because Russia is for Iran and against Israel, and India is for Israel. You will be surprised,
No,
ma'am.
we are too smart, and that's the beauty of India.
Yeah, and the Russians have very good relations with the Israelis. Huh? Let me show you. About
Yeah,
35% population of the Jews in Israel are Slavs. So, Rao G, he gets really irritated when I call him G. So, Rao G, NATO chief told one day that Ukraine will become in NATO, but he did not say in what shape or form.
That is just to keep Ukraine. उसको क्या बोलते हो? Toffee, giving him a bait, give him, make him feel happy like a small kid. He needs to be given a toffee once in a while.
That's true. Pratap ji, please don't blindly stand with Israel. Israel doesn't display Kashmir map. It won't accept Kashmir, including POK, as a part of India. Israel supports cookie terrorists and against natives in India. It doesn't support cookies. This is again this thing. It supports certain tribes in Meghalaya. By the way, 120 tribes have already left for Israel. They are known as the Lost Tribes of Israel. They left in 2012, first batch went, 2013, second batch, and 2016, third batch had already left. That is one. Second thing, my opinion is that, they don't look at Kashmir. You don't recognize their one state solution. So that is
It's QPQ.
QPQ. Yeah.
It's a QPQ thing.
Yeah, people do get pissed off about it, but that's how you play games. Yeah, these are how geopolitics.
This is what geopolitics is all about.
Yeah, you give and you take, and you give and you take. MPC sir, once again, thank you, sir. In most of the world, if a college teaches alchemy instead of chemistry, we will cancel its recognitions. But why do we allow false history and hateful teachings in the name of religious freedom? And if I could answer that question.
Yeah, this is you know, history is his story. Whose story it is what matters.
Damn, that's an answer. Damn, that's
Yeah,
an answer. Damn, that's an
yeah.
answer.
His story. It's history is his
Yeah,
story.
that's an
You know,
answer, sir.
his,
Rajesh Saab says, was the Palestine attack on Israel triggered by the USA? Wild guess. It seems to drag Russia and Iran and Syria, so shift its total focus from Ukraine as the attack on the Syrian base by the US. No, no, that's not by
um,
US. That's confirmed by the IDF.
that is IDF. And then, as far as this is concerned, you see, these are all conjectures, and could be true also. But this, as I said, it's a conjecture, and is trying to we are trying to put dots together to see as to how it was. And as you said, it's a wild guess. It remains wild, and it's not such an easy thing that I will do this, so they will do this, and then this will happen, and that will happen. These are long drawn issues, and
I think military has brought out an interesting question, sir. Where is North Korea? No one's asking Kim.
yeah, he's a good guy. He's having a blast. He's having a blast. He's
Rocket.
just
Let me rephrase that. Rocky Man is having a blast.
Rocket Man is having a blast. So let's not trouble him. He's also
Miliji,
waiting for his. He's
he's a
waiting for.
trigger. Yeah,
He's waiting for his friend Donald Trump to come and calm him down.
he's just a trigger. Yeah, so somebody has to kind of finger him, and then he'll sound out. Otherwise, he doesn't. Batraji says Ukraine and Russia are basically the same people. Ukrainians are being manipulated after this war. They will reconcile, but this will never happen in West Asia. That's true.
That's true. I mean, there is. You see, that's where the difference is between the two. Russia and Ukraine, same stock. Whereas in the Middle East, the game is different, and we discussed this. And it's cultural, it's religious, it's I mean, totally different.
Yeah.
And the dynamics are ancient. I mean, historical and ancient conflicts and whatnot. I mean, I don't want to get into whatever is the divide between the sects, but to maintain peace is more critical than, because it'll have ramifications all over the world. Whereas as far as Ukraine Russia is concerned, it's between Ukraine, Russia, and Europe.
It's more
It doesn't
localized.
affect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more localized.
Another friend of ours from Bangladesh says, Adi sir, do you think World War III will start from Israel and versus Iran? And what role will India play in the middle?
Yes, that is where the role that one in India is playing is not to allow it to happen.
Exactly.
That's the role India is playing.
Shankarji asks, IMEC and INSTC countries are fighting each other. Chennai Vladivostok is the only unaffected for now. Could there be flashpoints here as well?
You see, these are what we all do understand is these are corridors which you define for trade, right? Which you try and develop for trade, for a smoother trade. If one stops, the other one works. Today they may be fighting, tomorrow they are not going to be fighting. As far as we are concerned, we would want to engage all of them and see that our trade is going out smoothly.
Might I
And
add something, sir?
yeah,
Look at Chabahar and look at Haifa.
yeah,
Okay. Both warring countries, trust you me, if there is a rocket launch here and there, Iran will not fire at Haifa and Israel will not touch Chabahar. It will not happen. You don't do that.
you don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. So
You see, in the end of it all, every nation today, they are being led by very mature people. I mean, you can talk of Netanyahu, he's a mature politician. You talk about the Ayatollah's spiritual head, whatever it is. They are mature people. They until it until unless their fundamentals are hit, until unless the fundamentals are shaken, they are not going to indulge in something which is not good for the world.
yeah. Thought provocator साहब, thank you. You say meanwhile Pakistan worry जंग हुई तो डॉलर मिलेगा क्या?
उसको तो खाली डॉलर चाहिए, उसको कुछ नहीं चाहिए.
And two more, sir. Arpana ji says, "आप दोनों को नमस्ते. How will the mindset of America over uh, of reigning over the whole world change?"
Uh, America, today we've discussed, is not going to be able to reign over the whole world. That's one. Let's get it right. It is being already challenged by China, and that is what is America's biggest worry. It has been challenged by Russia. They have tried to subjugate Russia by all the sanctions, etc. Nothing has happened, right? Militarily, the United States find itself in a bind, whether it is Ukraine, Israel, or helping out Taiwan. Biggest worry remains China. So America's dominance today is being challenged by the Chinese, and that is a cause of worry. It is also the rise of India also is not, while it is being appreciated uh, overtly, but within it is not being appreciated. Let me just tell you. So there are many countries and many people of the deep state within those nations, whether it is the United States, whether the Europeans, that the rise of India is not being seen favorably. So all out efforts to bring us down will be there, and America, with the kind of polity that they have in place or they are going to have in place, definitely is losing its grace. I would put it that way.
That's very interesting. And last one, sir, Hari Prasad ji says, "Is North Korea propped up by the US to maintain slavery of South Korea and Japan, Philippines, Taiwan, etc.?" Some people do
Can't
say
say.
that. Some
Yeah, I
people do
mean,
say.
some people say that they in that part of the world they needed a check,
Yeah,
and that is the check that is existing.
yeah.
It's a theory, yes. Once in a while, it does come about.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sarji, thank you so much. This was a wonderful session. And let's keep this up because geopolitics is gonna be the game. So guys, please like, jor se, and so that we can get Sir back next Thursday night as well to do another discussion, another fantastic discussion on geopolitics. We have 1,500 likes, guys. We can take it up as much as you can. So please do that and drop a comment before you sign off for the day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you, viewers.